I thank the chairman and members of this committee for this opportunity to share my thoughts on the appropriate next steps for human exploration of space. The past 50 years have witnessed an enormous accomplishments from our national space program. We've surveyed the entire solar system and launched hundreds of spacecraft, making us more knowledgeable, prosperous, and secure. Despite this history of accomplishment, we lack a clear long-term direction forward, and our space program is withering away. To find a sustainable path forward, we must consider the utility and purpose of human spaceflight. Although much can be accomplished in space using robotics, many tasks require the presence of people who combine high-level cognitive abilities with intricate manual dexterity. I believe our long-term goal should be to possess the ability to go anywhere we choose in space, to do whatever job or study we can imagine. Such capability requires an affordable, extensible space transportation system, one built incrementally over variable timescales to prevent fluctuations in funding from preventing its completion. One can imagine two very different approaches to spaceflight. One conducts a public spectacle, a one-off flags and footprints mission to some new and exotic destination. The other approach uses incremental yet cumulative building blocks that enable the gradual extension of human reach beyond low Earth orbit. The former produces a media event, while the latter links capability with progress and creates lasting value. A transportation system that can access the lunar surface can also access all other points of cislunar space, the domain of nearly all the world's satellite assets. The experience of building International Space Station and the servicing missions to the Hubble Space Telescope have demonstrated that people and machines working together in space can accomplish much more than is possible through the launch of smaller, custom-built expendable spacecraft. Our current template of design, launch, use, and eventual abandonment of space-based assets can be transformed into one of building and maintaining large, extended, and distributed space systems of unprecedented power and capability. This capability will produce enormous economic and societal return. It will create new wealth, not simply consume it. To achieve these ends, I believe that a return to the moon to access its and use its material and energy resources is the next best step for human spaceflight. The moon is important for three reasons. One, the moon is close. It is easily and constantly accessible, while its proximity permits early development before human return using robots remotely controlled from the Earth. The moon is interesting. It retains a unique record of its own history and processes, as well as those of the Earth-Moon system, the Sun, and the galaxy. This record gives us insights into the past and future of our home planet. But most importantly, the moon is useful. Its material and energy resources can break the logistical chains of the Earth. Several recent missions have discovered and confirmed abundant water at the lunar poles, all close to locations of near-permanent sunlight. This relationship enables our long-term presence on the moon, where we can extract water for use as life support consumables, energy storage, and most significantly, to manufacture the most powerful chemical rocket propellant known, hydrogen and oxygen. Water, oxygen, energy, and rocket fuel are vital enabling assets, provisions that will not have to be launched from the surface of the Earth, the deepest gravity well of our solar system. Harvesting these resources from the moon creates our first off-planet coaling station in space. We are not capable of sending humans to Mars now or in the near future in either a technical or a financial sense. We need a cohesive intermediate goal, one with specific, scalable activities and benefits that help assemble a permanent spacefaring system, a system that will open the way to Mars and to all the planets. The moon affords us this opportunity and the incentive to create such a system, a transcontinental railroad in space. Included with my submitted material is an architecture showing how we can incrementally and affordably develop this system. We went to the moon in the 1960s to prove that it could be done. We returned to the moon 50 years later to prove that we can use its material and energy resources to create new capabilities and commerce. A cislunar transportation system, developed and powered with lunar resources, will extend our reach into deep space and revolutionize the paradigm of spaceflight. This effort is not been there, done that. It is a wholly new, untried, and necessary pioneering enterprise in space. I thank the committee for its attention. I welcome your comments and thoughts, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Spudis. I now recognize our next witness, Dr. Squyres.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear today. The topic of this hearing is the next steps in human exploration to Mars and beyond. My recommendations to the committee today are as follows. First, affirm that Mars is and will continue to be NASA's long-term goal for human exploration of space. Second, at all future milestones on the road to Mars, direct the agency to focus on activities that clearly serve the goal of landing humans on Mars, operating there, and returning them safely to Earth. Third, adopt cislunar space as the next milestone, whether ongoing studies show that it's possible to redirect a small asteroid there or not. Finally, dictate no milestones beyond cislunar space without first assuring ample funding to achieve them. I'll address each of these in turn. The NASA Authorization Act of 2010 stated that a long-term objective for human exploration of space should be the eventual international exploration of Mars. I agree. In fact, in my view, Mars should be the long-term objective for human exploration of space, whether carried out internationally or by NASA alone. Alone among the planets, Mars is enough like Earth that we can imagine life once taking hold there. There's a vast and growing body of scientific knowledge that shows that the Martian surface once possessed many of the essential ingredients that are required for life. So sending human explorers to Mars to learn whether life ever emerged there is a goal that is worthy of a great national space agency. The most useful milestones on the way to Mars are ones that, when met, help retire risks that will be faced on the way to the Martian surface and back. In the 1960s, we didn't go to the moon all at once. Instead, the capabilities to land humans on the surface of the moon and return them safely to Earth were built up systematically over a series of Mercury, Gemini, and early Apollo missions. I'm convinced that the even more challenging capabilities that will be necessary to achieve a similar goal at Mars must also be built up stepwise. And at each step along the way, it will be crucial to examine all of the activities that might be conducted critically and pare them down to the minimum necessary to assure progress towards Mars. Many of the most important capabilities that are going to be necessary for human missions to Mars can be developed in cislunar space. This work can be done far enough from Earth that progress towards a true deep space capability can be demonstrated, but close enough to Earth that a safe return in the event of an anomaly is facilitated. Moreover, given the performance capabilities of the Space Launch System and the Orion crew capsule, cislunar space is the only significant destination below low Earth orbit that can be reached for the foreseeable future. It's the sensible next step simply by process of illumination. And I reach this conclusion whether NASA's ongoing efforts to study redirection of a small asteroid to lunar orbit bear fruit or whether they do not. After cislunar space, the choice of the next milestone becomes more difficult. Personally, I'm not persuaded that any physical destination like the lunar surface, an asteroid, or a Martian moon is truly necessary to get to Mars, function there effectively, and return safely. Others on this panel may disagree. But while we can debate the relative merits of such destinations, my most important message to this committee today is that I believe that no realistic step beyond cislunar space should or can be usefully identified right now. The fundamental barrier to making an intelligent choice today is that NASA is being asked to do too much with too little. This overtaxing of the agency is chronic, it's severe, and it's getting worse. It's manifested clearly even in NASA's near-term plans. To be more specific, the current development schedule for SLS and Orion calls for a flight rate that's so low that I believe it's a cause for serious concern. In a fiscal environment where even the next step to cislunar space cannot be carried out at an adequate pace, I feel that for Congress to dictate any subsequent milestones today would be unwise. Unless NASA's funding is increased substantially, any attempt to specify milestones beyond cislunar space today would amount to an unfunded mandate. And if NASA is directed to do something it is not funded to do, I predict that the result will be wasted effort and a delay in achieving the ultimate goal of humans to Mars. I'd like to conclude my opening remarks today on a positive note by pointing out that the solution to the mismatch between NASA's aspirations and its budget may be international partnerships. This was the case for establishment of a permanent Earth-orbiting laboratory, and the International Space Station that resulted is a magnificent example of what space agencies can accomplish when they work together. If no major funding increase for NASA can be found, then I believe that the agency should aggressively seek out international partners for the human exploration of Mars. But if that happens, I feel that neither Congress nor the administration can expect to dictate what the next milestone after cislunar space should be unilaterally. Instead, that milestone will have to be negotiated fairly and equitably with those international partners. Again, thank you for the opportunity to appear today.